Hello, my name is Laura, and I've almost read the entire alphabet. Sort of. I recently realized that this year I have read a book where the title begins with a letter of the alphabet for every letter except X, U, X, Y, and Z. You good there, Storm? Cool. So I thought to myself, okay, that's 4 books. That's simple. I can do that. Let's go peruse my shelves, which I did and then didn't record it. But what I found was that I do have 2 books. I have Younger by Pamela Redmond, which is about a woman who lies about her age to get a job because I watched the show. I thought it was cute, so I wanted to read it. But like basically, I think she is concerned she won't get hired because of her age, because I assume she's actually Gen X, but she's in the show, she's definitely posing as a millennial. But essentially how many times can I say that? She lies about her age because they can't legally ask you what your age is. So she then is kind of stuck in this position trying to act younger than she is. I don't know if the book is really any good, but I liked the show enough that I wanted to read it. So here we are. So here's my why. So I have to finish this in this video. I was gonna say this year, but that's like the point of this video as I'm reading them now, or whatever. And then the second one I don't own, but was totally just a cover pickup from the library, and that is Zara. Sorry, I was gonna say Zahara, but there's not an extra A. Zara by S.J. Jones, which I don't know too much about, but it is blurbed by Marissa Meyer, who is one of my favorite authors of all time. Anyway, so I love that she did that. This is fantasy, Guardians of Dawn. I don't know if it's a series. But let's read together and find out what this is actually about, because mostly I went with the vibes. Jin Zara's life was already full of was already full with appeasing her stepmother's cruel whims, looking after her blind younger sister, and keeping her magic secret from those who would kill her for it. But when a mysterious plague starts to transform magicians into monsters, Zara joins a secret magical liberation society called the Guardians of Dawn. Hey. And her life becomes entwined with an easily flustered young man named Han, who has secrets of his own. Magicians go missing, abominations emerge, and Zara's powers are growing beyond her control. A demon has awoken in the morning realms, and Zara must find the elemental warrior within before the balance between order and chaos is lost forever. So that sounds really interesting. We've got a really pretty pink map. I'm loving the pink-red vibes of this all over. All right, so this seems really interesting. So now I'm on the hunt for an X and a U. And while we're sitting here, we are going to go through my Goodreads. So let's look at my Kindle TBR first and my audio TBR, because I've not looked at those yet. So, Goodreads. And we are looking for a U and an X. And I'm gonna guess I don't have them. Oh, I have another J. I have way more W's than I anticipated. Yep, as I suspected, there was nothing on there. I don't have a lot of audiobooks right now that are unread, so that is not a shock. So now let's go into my want to read, see if there's any already on here. Can I, sort by title. And then let's do it in reverse. Okay, that starts with an H. Don't know why you're at the top. Oh, okay. It's absolutely gonna be You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. No, I already have the Y. Oh no. It still could be that book. I really want to read that, but I forgot I have the Y already. It's so many duplicates. Okay, it's the U and the X that I need. That was so disappointing. I just got so excited for nothing. Ooh, I could read Untitled. Okay. All right, I am a big B.A. Paris fan, so the understudy is definitely a huge win in that. I could commit to reading all the up and unders so I could get to the Under the Smoke Screen Sky. I'm very curious about Under the Surface, so those are all very good options. I would love, more than anything, to read Under the Same Stars. And if the publishers love me, they'll send me an arc before the end of 2024, and then I will. I have asked. I have not heard back. But I am praying to read Under the Same Stars as soon as humanly possible. However, not for this vlog. But, okay. So, based on what I already have, Under the Surface or the Understudy are going to be my top two. The Understudy is just most likely just a generic thriller because that's kind of what B.A. Paris is known for, and I'm not going to actually read the description of it. I think that's fine. But Under the Surface is an epic survival thriller about 4 teens who get lost in the Paris catacombs for days. A gripping and propulsive story of love, danger, betrayal, and hope, even when all seems lost. Ruby is terrified to cave to her feelings for Sean and risk him crushing her heart. Sean is pumped to spend a week with Ruby in Paris on their senior class trip, and he'll wait however long until she's ready to take things further. But when Ruby's best friend sneaks out the first night to meet a mysterious French boy, Ruby goes with her 2 classmates. I'm sorry, Ruby goes after her with 2 classmates. But what are you chasing? It better not be that stupid lizard. Okay. There was a lizard in here the other day. I don't know how it got in. I don't know where it went. I'm either cohabitating with a lizard, my cat has killed it and hidden it, which is possible, or it left the way that it came. I don't know. I don't want to think about it. Anyway, it sounds like a YA thriller, which are always hit and miss, but like, I don't know, that cover is just giving. So, is that out? It is. No, it's not out yet. But that's fine. Because I don't post things regularly anyway, so timing doesn't matter. But I'm excited. Okay, so that's definitely, those are my top 2 for the U. And then I had no X's. And X is going to just be impossibly hard because that's a hard letter. How many books start with X? I read Baby X, which I was debating counting just because it had X. And I know that there are, like, I don't know, it's like, what words start with X? Like xylophone. How many books are about xylophones? So, I don't know. I used to have a list. I don't think I have it anymore. Okay. I do have a list. Most of them are things that I'm not super interested. Okay, so there is, I'm gonna say Xenocide by Orson Scott Card, which is the 3rd book in the Ender's Game series. I read Ender's Game and I thought it was fantastic. I know Orson Scott Card is a terrible person. So if I choose to continue with that series, it would be through the library. I've got the book X by Sue Grafton, which is part of like her Alphabet Murder Mystery series, which I've never read. And then a book called Exit, but like X-It, the XYZs of being wicked, X-Isle, Xylophone, Exit. I just said that one. Another book called X by Jack Proxall. Like, it's a lot of things. Oh, I read that book. Like, I feel like I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel with the X's, and if I ever intentionally read, like, do an alphabet challenge again, I would probably be more fluid with how I incorporate the X, just because it's a really hard letter, particularly in English. Now, if X is a more common first letter in other languages, I am definitely open to looking into translated works, because A, I want to read more translated works, and B, it's possible that the X is used more in other languages, and I'm just unaware of that. So I will look into that too. But for now, I need to go peruse my library, and I think I might go with Ender's Game, because I will have to read book 2 before I can read Xenocide. But I will look into that, and then when I have, I'm going to look into that, and I'm going to start Younger and Zara, and then I will update you with my official U and X picks once they're official. Okay, that's all for now. So my hair is a mess. And I can't be bothered to care. But I think I have found all of the books that I'm planning to read for this. I say it hasn't even been that long. I got a copy of The Understudy by a lot of people, which I think I probably talked about, but it's B.A. Paris, Claire McIntosh, Holly Brown, and Sophie Hannah. And I've only read from B.A. Paris before, which is what was the draw to this book in the first place, is because I can usually read her books pretty fast. I have not read from Claire McIntosh, but I have heard of her, and I haven't even heard of the other two, so I'm very curious about this. This was actually kind of hard to find a copy of, so I kind of hope I like it. The goal of all of this is to like it. I have found 3 books that start with X that I'm hoping I will like one of them. One of them is a YA romance, which is called XOXO. There might be another word. I have to pick that up from the library. I haven't gotten it yet. And then I got, I think, a dark romance or a billionaire romance or a dark billionaire romance on Kindle Unlimited. And then I think I got a manga. Let me see. So all of those start with X. So that's Libby. It's 11 o'clock. I'm gonna actually try and binge read this today. Oh, I'm not even logged in. What the hell? All right. I could be talking about these X books later. Okay, so I have Zan, which looks like this. That just looked really cool. Ironically, I think that will be the one I like the most because YA romance, I'm very iffy on, just like as an adult. It doesn't hit the way it's, because I'm not its target audience. There's nothing wrong with it, obviously. And then, oh, do I really have to, oh my God, because it's a manga, I have to swipe it backwards. I know you read them right to left, but normally on ebooks, they make it so you can tap forward. Anyway, that seemed kind of interesting, so I kind of feel like I will enjoy that one if I can get out of this. And then I have XOXO I Love You by Julie Capulet, which, oh, because I'm on my, it's got pink font, that's cute. An obsessed hero billionaire romance. And it's a duet, so if I happen to like it, there's another one. But I have not read billionaire romances. I've not read dark romances, unless you count Manacled, which I guess is a dark romance. It was also, I don't want to say it was one of the worst things I've ever read because that's not fair. Because I don't think it was poorly written. Like, I do think the author has talent, but it was so not my taste. The way everyone was like crying over the ending and like it broke their heart and like, you know, the love of Draco. And I'm like, did we read the same book? At what point was he redeemed? Like, he loved Hermione and he saved her to some degree, sure. But like, he never, like, there was even a point in the book where one of the characters, and I won't say who because it would be a spoiler, but like one of the characters was pretty much like, I know you love him, but he's only like that with you. It was like, okay, yeah, because he's not actually a good person. He just likes Hermione. But otherwise he's like an asshole. I don't know. It did not work for me. So I feel like if I was going to like a dark romance, starting with something like Harry Potter, where I'm already familiar with the characters, was probably going to hit more than if it was just a dark romance where I didn't know any of the characters in advance. It's like, I don't know. I don't see that trope ever working for me. Stormy, your nails are so sharp. I love your biscuits, but like they hurt. So anyway, all that to say, I don't know if I'm gonna like that romance. It's not even a dark romance, it's a billionaire romance, which who doesn't love having billions, you know? So yeah, I'm gonna just see how far I can get in the understudy, and then we will move on to another book and hope that they're good. And maybe Little Miss Stormalorm here will let me cut her nails so her biscuits don't hurt. But she says that's unlikely because she likes having sharp biscuits. This girl does not like me to cut her nails, and I try to respect that about her. But it hurts. Okay, so I finished The Understudy by this group of authors. B.A. Paris, Claire McIntosh, Holly Brown, and Sophie Hannah. And I don't know what my official rating is. Like, my gut reaction is saying 3 because I love B.A. Paris. But I think it's a 2. It's just, nothing happens. Well, that's not true. Okay, so the gist of the story is we're following 4 mothers. Each perspective is narrated. Nope. Well, yes, but no. Each parent is authored by one of these women. So each perspective is a different author. And I think they did a really good job where the writing styles all felt very cohesive. I did not feel like I was reading from 4 different authors, and I think that was a good thing. I think they really got a good cohesion. Is that what I want to say? Like, it all flowed nicely. The problem is we're following the 4 mothers of 4 girls who are in a performing arts school where one of them is getting mercilessly bullied, and the moms are kind of like up in arms about what to do about that and who's at fault, how serious is it, what can the school do when it's happening off campus. Like, there's a lot of moving parts, but the problem is the action is happening to the daughters and we're talking to the moms. So it was like almost all telling and no showing. Like, we rarely witness any of these events. We're hearing about them after the fact. There's a couple chapters that have Snapchat conversations with the girls, and those were more interesting, but they were, you know, probably 6 total pages of this whole thing. And at the end, the whys of everything going on were just, I don't think they were good enough. I don't think it made enough sense. And I say this as a child-free person. If I had children, I might come at my perception of the ending differently. And now I'm going to talk about it in spoilers because I don't think I can really talk about the ending at all without talking spoilers. So, if you don't want to read this, welcome. So, basically what ends up happening is the principal of the school hires a random actress. I use the term loosely. She was an aspiring actress who really never got work. And the principal hires her to bully Ruby. And Ruby herself was previously a bully. And he's doing this because he basically wants to drive Ruby to suicide because his daughter was bullied to suicide. So he's like, I see it happening again, and no one's gonna like do anything about it. Even though he's the principal, he could do something about it. He instead pays someone to bully another child, basically in hopes that this girl will kill herself so that he can be vindicated. Even though none of this has anything to do with his daughter. I think that's the biggest thing. Is not like Ruby bullied his daughter. His daughter just happened to also be bullied to suicide, and Ruby is just also a shitty person. But Ruby's biggest problem is that she was basically kicked out of her last school because everyone thought she murdered a classmate, but obviously she was proven innocent, but like, you know, not in the social court. So she goes to this new school to escape that. But she didn't even kill the girl. The mom killed the girl. It was an accident, but like, it was the mom's fault. So none of this makes any sense. Like, not really. And I guess I can understand that the principal doesn't want to see more children getting bullied and feels like maybe the only way to fix bullying is to give the bullies the scare of their life. Like, I can kind of understand that logic, except you're an adult, this is a child. That's not how you solve this problem. And it's a book, it's fiction, suspend your disbelief. But like, his motives, it would have made sense if they were all tied to the girl that Ruby was thought to have killed. That would have made sense. This was just another, it didn't work. It didn't work. And the more I think about it, the less I like it. And it does not inspire confidence for me to be reading from Claire McIntosh or Holly Brown or Sophie Hannah. I might have Claire McIntosh on my TBR. I can't remember. She's had a couple titles I've been interested in, and I would still pick her up again. Like, I wouldn't write any of these authors off from this because I don't think their writing was necessarily bad. I think the story just had nothing to give. So, unfortunately, I did finish the U, but it was a 2-star. And this is not going to be a 5-star alphabet hunt because I don't even think my Q was not, actually, was my Q 5 stars? It was third of class. I gave 1 or 2 of those 5 stars. But anyway, I'm not going for 5 stars for the whole alphabet. I'm not that crazy. But I am disappointed that this was a 2. It kind of makes me want to switch my Y. I have younger for that one, but I'm tempted to trade it out for You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight or whatever by this book, this one. Because that feels like it's going to be like a slasher set at a camp. And that seems like a vibe I'm here for. And I think younger is going to be like maybe 3 stars. But I need to read it because it's on my TBR. And that's kind of what this whole thing is. Like, yes, I'm reading through the alphabet, but if I have it on my shelf, I'm going to read it off my shelf. Unfortunately, only one of those books was on my shelf previously. This is on my shelf now. I bought it, but Younger was the only one I owned. The X, all 3 of those, library/Kindle Unlimited, and then Zara, which is on that shelf over there, which I don't even think I like the placement of. I started cleaning today, and I was like, oh, I should move that. I can't with directions. That shelf, the one that's out of place and hasn't been there before, that one used to be off camera over here in front of me. And I was like, oh, I should move my lamp to that area so I have more lighting in this whole vicinity, which I really, really like. But I can't put that shelf where the lamp was. I mean, I could, but aesthetically I would hate it. So I was like, oh, I'll put it by my bookshelves because I thought they were the same depth. They're not, obviously. I know IKEA makes like a Billy that's like that wide that I could get, but that's not the point. I already have this shelf and I don't know what to do with it now. Well, no, I don't know where to put it. And so now there's also I have a table right there because that used to be where that was. And I don't know what to do with any of this. So my life is chaos. Everything's a mess. I didn't like this book, and now it's 7:30 at night, and I don't want to start another one. If I knew how to do the alphabet, X is next. I have to go to the library to pick up those books. All right, I'll check in with you when I have another update. So I got my library book, XOXO by Axio, which is a YA romance, a dreamy dose of K-pop idols and secret romances. Almost nothing about this is my jam, but we're gonna try the first chapter of this and of XOXO I Love You by Julie Capulet. So we're gonna read the first 2 chapters of these books. All right, Stormy. I don't think this is gonna work. She's right here. Right there. That's a cat. You come up here? Oh, well, there's her ear. Nugget will do this. If I do this, Nugget will actually stand up. Stormy, not so much. I love you too, baby girl. Hi. So I finished the first chapter, and I think I might like it. It's hard to say. I'm getting a little bit of an The Sun Is Also a Star vibe from this. It sounds like Jenny, who is our heroine, and I have not gotten his name yet, but the inside cover says it's Jae Woo. They're gonna spend like kind of like a whirlwind night together, and then he has to go back to Korea, and she's never gonna see him again. And then obviously fate intervenes and they see each other again. And she's going to go end up in Korea, or South Korea specifically, which I think is where all of this is going to kind of come to a head. But at the moment they are in LA, and Jenny is working for her uncle's karaoke bar, and Jae-woo shows up and he won't leave. So Jenny is like tasked with getting him out of his room. So I believe her journey is going to be learning how to loosen up and kind of just let life happen. And it's not all about the next thing. Like, you can enjoy this moment now without being concerned about what it means 10 steps down the road. And I think that's nice. I think having that kind of balance between planning for your future but enjoying the now, like, both are important. And obviously that is a lesson she's going to learn. And I think that this will be fun. I don't think it'll be amazing for me, but I really enjoyed The Sun Is Also a Star, and because this is giving me vibes of that, I'll probably continue it regardless, because like I already have it, so why not? But we'll see if it's the pick for the X. This is also just, it's a paid actor at this point. It won't go away. I'm just pointing it out now because it's gonna be here forever. But anyway, now we're gonna read XOXO I Love You, an obsessed hero billionaire romance. I don't have high hopes. But we're gonna read this one on my iPad because I don't feel like getting my Kindle. Okay, I can't move because I have a cat sleeping. Oh, did you wake up, pretty girl? Hi. Okay, so I was actually more invested in that than I expected to be. We're following Lexi and Rafe, and it is dual POV, I just found out. And Lexi is fresh out of college. She just moved to, I think she's in LA. Are these both set in LA? And she's interviewing for a very popular magazine called Downtown. And she's got a lot of student debt. You know, obviously she doesn't have a job. And her friend gave her an expensive makeover because it's LA and you need to be hot. So she goes to this interview, and surprise, she was supposed to be meeting with a panel of people, but instead she's meeting with the CEO himself. And it's just, to me, an assistant, so, you know, nothing crazy. And of course she gets up to this interview with the CEO, who happens to be Rafe, who happens to be this insanely sexy billionaire. And he asks her like one question and then hires her. Somehow that's the more unrealistic thing to me in all this. He's like, can you handle long hours and travel? And she said yes. And he says, you're hired. Pretty shitty interview, honestly. That was funny. But then they immediately have sex, and she was apparently a virgin, which I imagine might be a trope in these romance novels. My experience with romance is very tame. Like Emily Henry. Who else? Who else have I read? That should tell you everything you need to know about my romance journey. Mostly Emily Henry. Let's just go with that. So, I've read Spice, like I as if Ice Planet Barbarians is anything to, like, this should not be on a pedestal, but I have read that. I am not opposed to what is essentially just erotica. Like, it's fine. I was surprised though by this because I think the writing was decent for what it is. Like, it's not amazing, but it's very readable. And I'm actually kind of curious about it. Like, I know it's not gonna be a lot of plot. I know it's gonna be mostly sex, but I'm actually kind of curious about the plot. So I actually think I'm gonna finish this one. Like, I think, I mean, I'm still gonna look up Zan, but like, I think I might just read this billionaire romance and see what that's all about. Who am I? Ow! All I wanted to do was shut the camera off. Why'd you stab my boob? Alright, I'm gonna feed my cat. But you can only hear Nugget. Stormy doesn't really care. She's got manners. I'm gonna feed my cat's wet food while we talk about whatever the hell it was that I just read, because I don't like obsession romance. She's gonna go nuts. Okay, so I'm not prepared for any of this. The whole story, the story is told in two parts. I read part one. I finished the whole book, but like, to get the whole story, you need to read the second book, and I'm not gonna do that because mostly I don't care. But what's important is we're following this young girl who gets her first job. She's only 20, and she gets this really good job for this billionaire CEO who's only like 27. So like, good for him. They both have like a dark past, and they become immediately obsessed with each other. And I was curious. I thought the writing was decent. It was very smutty. I don't really know I don't know how to grade that. 1 second. Like, I can't be mad there was no plot because it was an erotic novel. I knew there wouldn't be like a huge plot. But the problem is the plot that they gave wasn't good. I was interested in their backstories and why they were both kind of like keeping secrets. I did find that interesting, and I think their backstories did shape them. Like, I think it did a good job at explaining their motivations and kind of the why they were the way that they were. Obviously, if this was like a proper romance or not an erotic novel, I would have expected to go further into those issues, but I think for the type of novel that it was, I think it covered the topics well enough. Like, I don't think there's anything bad about how that was handled. It didn't work for me, but I don't think that it was bad for its genre. What I didn't like, and this is a me thing, this is not a book thing, but the obsession of Wrath was all red flags for me, and therefore I know that this is a genre thing that I just don't like. The way that this man cannot function if this woman is not at his beck and call and or like within his line of sight, locked in a room. He's known her for 2 weeks and he buys an engagement ring. Like, all of that, massive red flags. And then the book ends on what I would say It's a cliffhanger. And it could have also been the 75% conflict. Like, it could have also been that. But instead we have a whole nother book. I will never know how it resolves. I would like to think that Lexi grows up and stays away from him forever. I know that's how it's gonna happen. I know they will end up happily being obsessed and living inside of each other forever, because that's obviously what people want. But he, like, you know, there's aspects of it that I understand and did enjoy. Like, who doesn't fantasize about a billionaire, like a super attractive young billionaire at that, falling in love with you immediately and then just taking care of all of your debts and just making your life so simple. Like, who doesn't dream of that? Like, that would be wonderful. You know, to not have to think about any worries ever again. Like, money's no longer a problem, healthcare is no longer a problem, everything is just, you can focus on doing whatever you want. Not that Lexi was allowed to do whatever she wanted, because she had an obsessive billionaire boyfriend who wouldn't let her do anything. But, so yeah, like, I understand the billionaire romance. That part I get. And I would be interested, I say loosely, in trying another billionaire romance. I will never try another obsession romance, because and that is where I think I could like dark romance, because like when he got like aggressive with his obsession, then I was like, okay, like I could see this going, like there's some meat here that he's not letting her do things. And I'm like, granted, I think I mostly wanted to then turn into like thriller horror where he turned out to be the bad guy. But that was where I was like, okay, maybe I could get into darker romance, because like I could kind of get on board with that. Like, I thought there was something interesting. It's not what it was. So we're 2 for 2 stars, and I don't think the other 2 are gonna be 5s. Younger, I really think will be like a solid 3. Like, I wanted to exceed my expectations, but like I don't have like outrageous hopes for it. And then Zara is just a YA fantasy. Could go either way, honestly. It could be my new favorite book of all time, or I could be bored. I will check in with you when I start reading Younger. Okay, so I finished Younger, and I didn't give any updates. What is my hair doing? That doesn't make it worse. Ugh. And I don't have my tripod out because it would have to be right there. And as you see, there's a pretty princess. Say hi. Okay. And it wasn't a 2-star, okay? So that's the good news. We finally got something above 2 stars. Unfortunately, it was 3, which isn't bad. 3 is not a bad rating. We all know this. But it's not like a good book. It's fine. But if the concept of a woman acting younger to get a job and like fight ageism in the workplace, well, first of all, this isn't a good book for that. Like, that's kind of the concept, but it's not. It's really a romance at its heart. But if the kind of rom-com version of that story interests you, just watch the show. And I so rarely say that. The show took this book and made it funny and lovable, and the characters were so fun, except for season 7. We don't like the last season. Oh, we have another baby. Oh, I am blessed. Okay. Anyway, none of the characters have the same names except for Maggie, and Maggie has a completely different personality in the book than she does in the show. And everybody in the show was significantly better. And obviously, like, they get way more developed. They have way bigger arcs. A lot more happens. Okay, now both the cats are gone. But, like, you know, it's not fair to compare the show to the book when you talk about the fact that the show had 7 years. Well, more than that, really. The show had so much more time to expand on these characters and develop them in a way that the book... Okay, Stormy, you're pushing my hand, which we're pretending is a tripod. So, I get it. You know, the book didn't have as much time, but I so rarely come away from a book and say the adaptation is better. Because even if the adaptation goes on longer, everything that I loved about the original source material was still there, you know? And in this case, this feels like almost the first draft of season 1. I don't feel like this is like a real spoiler, but if you don't know anything about the concept of the show or the book, maybe this would be. But like, obviously at some point everyone's going to find out that she's not 20. Well, no, she never gave an age. She was perceived to be 25 to 29 the whole time, which like is kind of laughable because there's no way Sutton Foster passes for that young. Like, she looks fantastic and she definitely looks younger than she is, but like there was no way in that show that she really passed for like young 20s. But that's not the point. It was a good time. But she so like it was going to come out at some point, and that timeline is obviously changed in the show. Whereas obviously in the book it happens in the book. But for the most part, I feel like a lot of... You know what? No, I was going to say I feel like a lot of what happens in the book happens in season 1. But like that's not even true because so little of the book made it to the show. Like, the core concept is a woman gets divorced. She has a daughter who is like doing some kind of work in another country, like Peace Corps or something to that degree. And so she's basically, you know, mid-40s, and she's alone for the first time in like, you know, 20 years. Doesn't know what to do with herself. So she gets a makeover from her best friend in New York City and then just passes herself off as younger because it's easier to get a job in your 20s than it is to get a job in your 40s when you haven't been working for 20 years. And I feel like this book could have probably gone a lot of different ways. It could have really talked about the ageism in the workforce, particularly, I'm sure, in New York City and in publishing houses where the wanting to kind of capitalize on the new young market, you're going to have an easier time doing that with younger people than older people. But the book just kind of doesn't go anywhere. Kind of like this commentary on it is going nowhere. I was bored. So this is 3 for 3 that have just been boring. What a fun vlog. And the last book, Zara, I don't think I can read that in a day. I've read all 3 of these back to back to back, like in a day, which has been kind of fun. But Zara is... What am I looking over there? Like, that's going to tell me how many pages it is. It's chillin'. I'm not going to know how many pages it is. But I think it's 400 or 500, and it's only Tuesday, so... Okay, well, I'm going to go be disappointed about this. Maybe I'm going to go rewatch Younger so I can feel better about this. I don't know. Okay, have I started all of these clips with okay? Because I think I have. I started Zara, and I'm pretty sure that I am pronouncing that wrong because I had the audiobook going for a while, and I think it's closer to Zara. So I apologize for how badly I have been butchering that. I'm about 8 chapters in, and it's definitely very interesting. It's a world where magic has been outlawed, and the Guardians of the Dawn, who are... Well, what I'm not sure of is if the Guardians of the Dawn are the name of a specific, like, group of guardians, or if they are the name given to the rebellion that's definitely forming to bring magic back. But Zara has magic, which makes sense because she's our protagonist. And obviously that's a secret. She lives with her stepmom and stepsister. And the stepmom obviously doesn't treat her well. The stepsister is blind, and it sounds like it's Jara's fault. It sounds like she was using her magic when she was younger, and she did something that caused Jara to go blind. However, her sister doesn't know that Jara has magic. Only Jara's parents, who are now both dead. Her dad was murdered for being a magician. I don't know if they mentioned yet what happened to her mom. I mean, she presumably died, and that's why he got remarried. But I'm not 100% sure about that. And so the stepmom knows that she has magic and is basically keeping Jara as an indentured slave, making her cook for them, and like basically holding the threat of outing her as a magician over her head so that she stays in line. She beats both of her daughters. It's really just A+ parenting. And so when Jara is in town, she comes across a university student who clearly is in the know with someone with magic. It turns out it's his brother, and we end up getting a split perspective as well. So we end up getting this gentleman's perspective. Turns out he is the prince in disguise, and no one knows what the prince looks like, so no one was able to recognize him, and he was able to sneak around town trying to find answers, because it turns out his younger brother is a magician, and obviously that's a problem. Like, down to his mother was a magician, and when they decided magic was outlawed, his mother was publicly executed while her family stood there and watched. So her dad, I'm not really sure, like, if the king, because obviously her dad was king, his dad was king, if Han is our prince. So I'm not entirely sure where the push to eliminate magic came from, if not the king. Like, he seems to have been ruined by the grief of losing his wife, which, if he was against magic, wouldn't have been the case. So I'm not entirely sure about that. But she was a magician. She asked Han to watch out for his younger brother, keep him safe, so Han is doing just that. But he knows nothing about magic, but he's realizing that he has access to people who are magicians in disguise. So he's obviously going to he's absolutely going to come across Jara again, because she's also realized he is a safe person. All that to say, in 8 chapters, I don't know a lot, but I am interested, I am invested. I did confirm this is a series. I don't know if the second book is out or when it's coming out, but I am hoping it's a duology. I have a lot of series and I like them, but we all love not have, we like standalones too. I was doing diamond art and I've been putting on suntan lotion, sunscreen, because I'm going to the pool, but I have a diamond, a plastic gem pretending it's a diamond on my back. How? Like, the places I find these is alarming. But anyway, like I said, I'm about to go to the pool. Because I don't have this book on Kindle, I can't read it in the pool. I have a float. Like, I could risk it. I probably won't. But I'm gonna go and finally get some sun. Of the 4 books I've read for this vlog, this one is the most promising.
The apothecary had sent Jara on ahead of her, as she had to finish up with the last few clients in her shop, and didn't want the booty matriarch to wait. Mom Grandmother was supposed to meet them at the Lion Temple, one of the landmarks on the road used by travelers for worship of their various gods.
finished and I loved it. I feel like we went almost from worst to best, although I still might put XOXO at the bottom. But like almost, which is wild. This, I think the comp for Cinder / Lunar Chronicles is completely correct. If you've enjoyed Lunar Chronicles, I think you would enjoy the Guardians of the Dawn, which I did find out is a quartet and not the standalone / duology that I had hoped for earlier. But book 2 comes out on the 6th, which is only like 4 or 5 days from now. So that's exciting for me. And I just had so much fun. It took me a while to clock that this was a Cinderella retelling. Even though it was like pretty obvious. I don't know why it didn't register immediately, but so that makes sense why the Cinder analogy comp title works really well, because they're both starting with the same base. The magic systems are completely different. Like, this is not a sci-fi retelling. Stormy, what you doing with the tripod? You're gonna make it shake again? Do I look crazy? Okay, cool. Lunar Chronicles is more sci-fi fantasy, and this is more fantasy. Sorry, my cat was being weird, but I don't know if I would necessarily, like, Goodreads is kind of classifying it as a fantasy romance. It's not romantasy, at least not yet. I don't know if I would, like, I don't know, the romance is there. It just doesn't, I feel like so much of the story would be the same if there was no romance subplot, you know? So it's like, it feels weird for its secondary categorization to be romance to me, just because romantasy is such a booming genre. And I'm afraid, I don't want this to get lumped into that. And I do think romantasy usually is new adult / adult because it tends to get explicit. So far, we haven't even, like, there have been sex jokes, but what I really liked was that this was Korean inspired, so it had me Googling things I didn't know, and it was magical. They say that it was also good for fans of Sailor Moon. I am not familiar enough with Sailor Moon to know how comparable these two titles are. I did see at least one review saying that it was a good comp, so that makes me want to get back into Sailor Moon. I watched it when I was a kid, and that was kind of like, I was just like, oh, pretty girls who are superheroes. That was like my take on it. I know that's not really, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, actually. That is my memory of it, is they would spin in circles, and then they would get a new costume, and then they would go fight evil. So if it's anything like this, though, I would enjoy it. But the general idea is that the Guardians of the Dawn were a group of magicians who kind of were best magicians. That's a horrible way. They're elementals. So we have Guardian of the Dawn, and Jara is the, I want to say fire guardian. Is that? I'm not gonna be able to find her exact title now. Okay, she is the guardian of fire. There's a guardian of fire, a guardian of air, or wind, I think actually it's the guardian of the wind. And we met the guardian of the wind. And then there's 2 more, based on the fact that this is a quartet. They probably told me. I'm gonna guess it's air. Nope, I already said that. Water and earth, because the 4 elementals, that makes sense. The next book is yellow, so it makes me think Ami is the guardian of earth, but I don't know. I'm excited to meet more guardians, and anyway, I was in the middle of explaining the plot of this book, and I cannot keep my thoughts straight. So the Guardians of the Dawn, they kind of had magic that superseded that of regular magicians. Like, regular magicians could essentially do what any of us could do, but like fancier and faster. Like, it's a really bad explanation, but like, they couldn't make anything happen that couldn't happen within the realm of reality. Like, I could never turn salt into sugar, but like, I could make salt water. Kind of, that's a really bad example, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I could make chemical reactions happen, but I cannot change something into something that it isn't. And magicians essentially also can't change something into something that isn't, but they can essentially do chemical reactions immediately, faster. And the Guardians are able to do magic outside of reality. There's a scene early in the book where Jara puts salt in a custard bun when she meant to put sugar, and she's able to magically fix that. But that, according to the laws, this is before she knows she's a Guardian. So like a regular magician would not have been able to do that, but a Guardian would have been. I think I'm explaining this poorly. But basically, this is so much fun, and I'm excited now that this is a quartet. I know I was originally like, I hope this is in the series, and now I'm like, yes, 4 books. So I'm also probably going to go out and buy this because I got it from the library, but I really had a good time with it, and I'm excited to read the sequel. And I'm excited that at the end of this, I got a book that I liked, because what a rarity these days. And I don't have much else to say other than I definitely recommend Jara if you like young adult fantasy, if you enjoyed the Lunar Chronicles, and if you possibly, presumably, like Sailor Moon. This seems like a really good suggestion. I don't really recommend the understudy to anyone unless you're trying to complete a backlog for those authors. And I don't recommend younger just because the show is better. Like, for younger, just watch the TV show. It's funnier, it's got way more content, the characters have more heart, everything about it is just better. And then XOXO, if obsessive billionaire romance is your thing, it's probably fine. If it's not, stay away. That's all I can say about that. And I will see you in another video in the future that I won't say is very soon because we know my track record. Okay, bye!